I've got 4 Roth IRA moves that could save your family 6 figures. Would you like to know about it? Hi, I'm Dave Lopez.
And I'm Chase Lopez, and we're financial advisors with ILG Financial. And this is another episode of Retire Your Way with ILG Financial, where we talk all things retirement. So before we jump in, Dave, just want to remind everyone, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button so you get notified for all of our future videos. So let's jump right in, Dave.
Yeah, we're talking about 4 Roth IRA moves. So just let me set the scene.
Yeah.
Imagine that you've saved all your life. You've got a huge savings in your IRA money. You don't need the money, so you think you've done everything right. I would say you have, right? You've got enough money to live the life you want to live. But then you pass, so you'll probably not know this, but your kids will know it. And when they inherit the money, they lose $100,000 or more of that money you spent your lifetime saving and investing and squirreling away to taxes. Now, we can't avoid taxes, but what if you found out much of that money they were losing was lost unnecessarily, and there was legal ways to dramatically minimize the amount the federal government gets from your IRA and maximize the amount your kids got? Well, the good news is there are. We're going to talk about those 4 ways specifically today.
Love it. So to your point, Dave, folks spend an entire lifetime saving money in these 401ks and these IRA accounts, right? But the number one thing that people don't calculate is over 2 generations, how much money will the heirs actually lose to taxes? Now, there's a law, it's called the Secure Act law, and a lot of people probably don't spend their time looking up laws on taxation, right? But we do. So basically what that law says is that your heirs will have to take out the money from your traditional IRA or your traditional 401k. When they inherit it, they will have to take the money out over a 10-year period. And every withdrawal that they take is considered taxable, so it will show up on their tax return.
Imagine year after year over the 10-year period.
Right.
And we don't talk about this, but imagine if you just take the minimum that you have to. Mm-hmm. At the end of that 10 years, your children are going to have a huge bunch that they still haven't taken out. All of it has to come out in the 10th year, which may bump them up into a higher tax bracket. Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So real numbers example. Let's imagine that you leave behind $500,000 in your IRA to your child. At the time you die, your child is earning, let's say, $150,000. Okay. Now, they're forced, as we talked about, to withdraw that inheritance over the 10-year period, which could push them for the first time in their life, and maybe the only time during that 10-year window, into the upper 2 tax brackets of the tax code, which currently are the 32% and 37%. Remember, that doesn't even count the state tax they're paying, Chase.
Yeah.
32 or 37% of your life savings is going to the federal government. That could cause them to lose, if you do the math, between $110,000 to as much as $185,000 of that $500,000 to taxes. Same money, same family, same investments that you put together, but a completely different outcome just based on the steps you take, which you can control, right? So the message here is a lot of times when people talk about Roth planning, we hear this all the time. Even financial advisors will say this. It's basically about retirement planning, and it is for you. But for many of you who don't need this money, the Roth planning is imperative that you get it right for legacy planning.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's jump into those strategies, right? So we said we have 4. The first strategy, right, or the first reason for using this Roth IRA planning is that there is no required minimum distributions for a Roth IRA. So for a traditional IRA, a pre-tax IRA, you are required in your early 70s to start taking money out of this account. You take the money out and you pay taxes on that full amount, right? With the Roth, the advantage there is that there is no requirement, right? So theoretically, you could leave that money in there forever, let it compound tax-free over 20, 30, 40 years, however long, and eventually it goes to your heirs tax-free.
Yeah, and the compounding alone is a big deal, right? Because if you have to take the money out, a lot of people don't know this, but if you have to take the money out, then you pay the taxes on it. So $10,000 ends up turning into $7 in your hand now. Well, you can't now put it into a Roth.
Right.
Now you put it into account. Even if you do reinvest it, it's taxed every year
Yes.
on the gains that you have.
Yes.
Now, there's a more insidious problem. Imagine now if you had put the money into a Roth, not only do you not have to move it out into an account that has a lower balance and is taxed every year, but the RMDs in an IRA force you to take the money out regardless of what's happening in the stock market. So imagine if the stock market drops 50%, you have to pull that money out and pay the taxes, even though you know you shouldn't sell low.
Right.
The Roth enables you to completely control your investment. So when the market's down, you can just take a breath, let it recover, and take it out high if you want to, or move out of the market high, but stay in the Roth.
Right. All right. So that's strategy one, right? Or reason one, however you kind of want to phrase it for the Roth IRA, right? The second strategy or reason is it will be tax-free income to your heirs, right? So let's use that same scenario we were talking about. Your heirs end up inheriting your traditional IRA or your traditional 401k. They have to take the money out over 10 years. So as they take that income out, it is considered taxable. Whereas the Roth, it is tax-free, right? That income that they're taking is tax-free. Now, why is that important? Well, typically, if we just look at life expectancy and things like that, when your heirs end up inheriting that money, they're going to be in what we call their peak earning years. So they're going to be making the most money that they've ever made in their life, right? Which means if they take the traditional IRA withdrawals, it's going to be stacked on their highest income, which could push them up into higher tax brackets. That could affect things like, obviously, their tax brackets, but it could also affect things like Social Security for them if they're at that age. It could affect things like Medicare, right? It could affect their Medicare earn-up premiums if they're of that age. But with the Roth, it comes out tax-free, so they would basically be insulated from all of that.
Yeah, not just that. Imagine they're allowed to just leave it in there 10 years untouched.
Right.
And compound.
Right.
Right? Whereas with the IRA, they're not allowed to leave it in there. So you're pulling it out, paying taxes. So the growth alone on the same investment, they're going to, at the end of the day, have considerably more money because of the benefits of being able to hold it in a tax-free account for 10 years without taking it out. Strategy number 3.
Yes.
This one is kind of counterintuitive. It's interesting, but by moving your IRA while you're alive to a Roth, one of the benefits or drawbacks is you've got to pay the taxes.
Right.
Well, the result of that is the value of your account drops.
Okay.
Right? You had $500,000 in your IRA. Over years, if you pay the taxes, you're now down to $350,000 right, on paper, but it's now tax-free, moved into your Roth. But that can be a benefit because it lowers the value of your estate. Now, why is that a benefit? Well, for some of you, if your income's high enough, in addition to income tax your heirs may pay, they may also have to settle up with the IRS with another tax called estate tax. And that's a tax on the value of your estate. Now, it only hits folks with larger estates.
Sure.
But some states have their own estate tax.
Right.
The federal government has one, some states do. And the level that's exempt is different. So we're not going to get into the levels today, but let's just say if you're around that amount, it will benefit you to have a lower estate when you pass. And this is one way to do it.
Yeah. So that was number 3. Right. 3. Number 4 that people just want to be aware of is you want to avoid massive taxes or really massive mistakes in regards to a trust. Right. So we're talking about passing money to your heirs. Right. And oftentimes people have a trust inside of their estate plan. So if your trust is not structured properly, and again, we're not going to touch on specific verbiage today, but if that trust is not structured properly, it could be taxed as a trust, right? Which means that the tax brackets are significantly lower for a trust than they would be for an individual.
So that translates to much higher taxes.
That's exactly right. So example is a trust is taxed at 37%, starting at $16,250. Right? So anything above $16,250 is taxed at 37%. When you compare that to an individual or a married couple filing jointly, they would have to have $600,000 of income to hit that 37%. So there's a massive discrepancy.
And they wouldn't be charged 37% until they
Above that.
Money above $600,000. Right. It is a huge deal if it's done wrong.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Yep.
All right, so that was number 4. So here's the other side of the coin. Like, remember, there is no strategy, investment strategy or tax strategy that's 100% fits everyone. So you want to be aware of the advantages and the disadvantages. And Roth conversions have some disadvantages. Sure. So you have to identify them, work with your financial professionals to see if they affect you. So let's touch on just a couple very quick. One is it could cause your Medicare premiums to go up. If you're 65 or even 63, and you start doing Roth conversions, when you convert your money to a Roth, that year, whatever you converted counts as income.
Right.
And that income could cause your Medicare premiums to be higher for a temporary period of time. Okay, so you want to work with your financial professional and or your tax professional before you do Roth conversions to make sure that you're getting them right. And if your financial professional isn't helping you do this, ask them to. They should be. We know this. Why? Because we do it every day with our clients, right? And you should be getting that service from them and don't be shy about asking for it. So Medicare premiums is number 1. The other one is we call jumping tax brackets. For those of you who don't know, the progressive tax code in the United States is called progressive tax code. So it's a stair step. So the more money you make, as you go up to a next stair, for the income above that.
Right.
So you wouldn't want to, most people wouldn't want to take a $500,000 IRA and then convert all of it in 1 year, because much of that 500 would be at the top of the stairs,
right,
which would be currently the 37% tax bracket. Whereas if you moved that $500,000 in smaller chunks over several years, you can move it under lower 22%, 24%, 32% brackets instead of 37, right? So again, this is where you would work with your tax professional and your financial professional to work out a strategic plan that's for you based on all your other income to the most efficient way to make your Roth conversions. Number 3, short-term cash needs. You want to be aware of those. Yep. Meaning you don't want to maximize your Roth conversion, an example I just gave you, to maximize out at the top of the 24 bracket.
Right.
But then you've got to take $50,000 out for your daughter's wedding.
Right.
So now the $50,000 you take out for your daughter's wedding is taxed at the next highest bracket. So again, you really want to work this with your income planning. Again, your financial professional requires planning, right? Yeah, that requires planning. And then the last one, this is a biggie. We've talked about it in previous videos, qualified charitable donations. This is a way to donate from your IRA to charities. This only affects anyone listening today who's going to give in retirement. Sure. Donate to their charity anyway. Yep. Right. This is a way to get the maximum savings out of it. And it's by donating through your IRA with a qualified charitable donation. If that's you, we don't want to move all your money out of the IRA. We want to leave money in the IRA sufficient to the amount you estimate you will be giving over the rest of your lifetime. So the idea would be before you die, we drain your IRA to zero with the remaining money with qualified charitable donations.
Yep. So those are the risks, right? So how do you do this in the correct way, right? Again, this is not meant to be, these are rules of thumb, right? This is not meant to be blanket advice. With today's point, you want to get with your financial professional to see how it's going to, or the best way for your specific situation. But to use Dave's analogy, you certainly don't want to log on to your Fidelity IRA today and move it all to your Roth IRA, right? You certainly don't want to do that. But you want to be strategic, right? So you want to convert in lower income years, right? If you have some years that you have lower income, take advantage of those lower tax brackets. You potentially want to stay in your current tax bracket, depending on where your income is. You want to spread those conversions out over time, right? And construct a plan where you're comfortable with what that looks like over time. And then lastly, you want to consider retirement income planning and R&D planning. All of this all of these are variables that you want to take into consideration when you're making some big decisions like this, like paying the taxes now and moving it to the Roth. Most importantly, right, and this is kind of what we were getting at through this whole video here today, most importantly, you don't want to hone in on just your tax liability. You also want to consider your heirs' potential tax liability in the future as well. So today's point, your family gets the most after-tax dollars out of these retirement funds that you spent a lifetime kind of saving together.
Yep. At the end of the day, remember, the money sitting in the IRA, you're either going to pay the taxes now, or you're going to pay them later.
Yep.
What you decide and how things work out in the rest of your life and as this money transitions to your heirs can mean the difference in thousands of dollars with no additional stock market risk. So you want to make sure you get this right. So get with your financial professional, have them review this and offer up suggestions, and have them explain to you why they're recommending that you do it the way you do it, and go back and review this video and make sure they're hitting all these points.
Yep. Love it, Dave. That's another episode of Retire Your Way with ILG Financial. Again, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to get our future videos. We'll talk to you soon.
Hi, Dave Lopez here. I want to thank you for watching our ILG Financial video series, Retire Your Way with ILG Financial. Just wanted to remind you, in addition to our YouTube video series, we also offer podcasts, 30-minute podcasts on different topics. You can check them out through our YouTube channel. You can also look at them through our website or any of the below listed platforms. Talk to you soon.